Hi guys, Bran here and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about... here we go. What? Let me guess, you're just about to complain. I mean, yeah, I was going to bring up some pain points that probably need looking at. Okay, average killer main. What a whiner, dude. Okay, well, number one, I haven't even said anything yet, so I don't know why you're already so upset. And number two, critiquing things is how they get better. So realistically... Jeez, man, don't you ever get tired of your echo chamber? Wait, do you even know what that means? Wouldn't an echo chamber be like a small amount of people agreeing all with each other and not a lot of people from different play styles, different hours, and different roles agreeing that the game is kind of, you know... Well, you missed the part where I was just trying to be, you know, nasty for no reason. So it really doesn't matter what you say at the end of the day. I'm just going to be mean either way. You know, you really could have just led with that. Yeah, but that's not really fun. Hello everyone, I will be completely transparent with you. I haven't had very much fun with Dead by Daylight lately, probably the least amount of fun I've had in recent years. I think the last time I was this unmotivated to play Dead by Daylight was back when the Twins released, you know, when they didn't work at all and most of the roster just broke entirely. I think the worst part is I think I don't have any patience anymore for it. I think I'm spent. Win or lose, good build, good teammates or bad teammates, the game has truly gotten to a point where I just don't find it enjoyable in its current state, and it feels like the game has kind of lost its identity. I could go into a lot of the reasons why: palette density, autopilot perks, bad teammates, but I've already made a couple videos talking about that, so I don't want to keep harping on it. Instead, I want Dead by Daylight, specifically behavior, to take a stand. Take a stand against what, you might ask? I want them to take a stand against the kind of players that they're catering to, because this targeted consumer base, I think, is slowly killing the game like a poison from the inside out. Who is this player base, you may ask? Well, let me explain. I think the biggest example I could cite was this Tuesday when I was playing Killer on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TheMrHeadache. I played for around 2 hours that day, and out of those 2 hours of play that day, only 40 minutes of my games were not plagued by disconnects. Whether it was at the end of the very first chase, or the team giving up all at once, and DCing and forcing me to quit at 3 to 4 gens, a majority of the matches were not completed normally. A majority of my games were played out with bots, or just ended prematurely because everybody became bots. And this is far from a one-off thing. I'm sure if you play DBD out there, this sounds very, very familiar, and this affects you whether you play Killer or Survivor. If the game is going your way and you're doing a really good job against your opponents, then people drop out of your game like flies. Whether it be just a chase gone bad, a teammate making a questionable decision, people will DC at the drop of a hat. If the wind changes direction, sometimes people DC for that. It's so difficult to get a game of DBD going these days that actually transpires normally from start to finish. Even if they're not actively DCing, they're trying to find other ways to get around it and quit. They're running into your face, they're going AFK, they're finding some way to quit. We have somehow reached an era of the game where people queue up not to play the game that they actually queued up for. Some players spend more time in queue than they actually do playing the game. Go to one of these entitled players' streams on Twitch, wherever it happens to be, and watch them play as they quit all the time. They spend more time listening to music and just chilling in the menu than they do actually playing. It is the most bizarre thing I have ever seen. All that to say, I think DBD has a poor sportsmanship problem of people that do not respect the time of their teammates, they do not respect the time of their opponent, and they just want everything to go their way, and if it doesn't, well, peace, I'm out of here. Despite the fact that we have this poor sport player base, the DC penalty remains extremely lenient. To some extent, it kind of has to be this way because we still have tons of cheaters. Ran into one literally today, so that was super cool. So you got to have like one freebie for that, or you have accessibility issues because of the plague vomiting or the doctor's extra effects on the madness, which is a bug that is still not fixed for some reason. So you may have to DC because of that. But the flip side is that we have built up a community of poor sports that are abusing this leniency of the light DC penalty to just kind of pick and choose their games to their liking. And this is at the complete disregard of their teammates and to their opponent. They just don't care. And the worst part is, at least as of now, Behavior has kind of allowed this practice to stand in their game. The last time Behavior took a strong stance against this player base of poor sports that constantly quit was back when they removed going next on Hook. And despite this fact, many players continued to try and find a way to circumvent this to make everyone matches awful for their own personal enjoyment. Behavior has seen this, is aware of this, but regardless of that, seems to have given up on their work to try and curb the amount of people that are quitting in this game, which has hurt match quality for all of us overall. And it doesn't end there, because you may be asking, well, at least during that 2-hour play session, you had 40 games that actually completed normally, right? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at those 40 minutes of games that I did play in that session. We had 4 matches, 2 of which I lost because of pallet density, and 1 was because of overwhelming meta. I had a game on Wretched Shop in specific that really grinded my gears, because I literally, at a certain point, I threw the match because I was so appalled. I was chasing this ace, and I realized that there were 8 pallets tied into Shack. 8 pallets. It's not even just like weak path pallets. There were safe pallets, there were formal tiles, there were 2 formal tiles that led straight into Shack, and there were 3 pallets immediately around Shack, and then 2 tied into those pallets, and it was wild. There was literally pallets everywhere, all tying into Shack. 8 pallets tied into Shack, and I was only playing Xenomorph, so unless the loop's low height, I can't shoot over that. And which, if you've played on Auto Haven, you know a lot of those loops you can't shoot over. But as bad as that was, what really stuck with me was the interaction I had in the in-game chat, because I said GG, they said GG, and I was just making casual conversation because I was still like, whoa, I can't believe there was 8 pallets straight into Shack. I said, wow, did you guys see that there were 8 pallets tied into Shack? And in his infinite wisdom, Dwight hit me with the wonderful, wonderful zinger. Well, they weren't all God pallets, so. I'm not kidding. Not exaggerating. He immediately said, well, they weren't God pallets, so. And when I was very rightfully like, I don't think that's relevant to the conversation, they put farts noise and then leaves. Yeah, that was a real interaction I had with a real human that plays this video game. Absurd. And I had another game that almost hit more of the issues on the head than that did. I had a game that I was playing on Coldwind, once again as the Xenomorph, and it felt grating even though I won, because that's another thing a lot of people say in this current era DVD is like, well, if your win rate doesn't change, everything's fine, because winning is fun. No, winning is not inherently fun. The quality of the game and what happens in the match is fun. You can have fun games while losing if you get outplayed and see some really cool plays happen that defeat you. You can have a lot of fun winning, but you may not have the best time winning if the way you won was because people were quitting or they just made a major mistake and the match ended too quickly. There's a lot of things that go into that, and this was definitely one of those games where even though I won, it felt kind of like a hollow victory. So to set the scene here, I was winning the game by a pretty far margin. I started kind of playing a little bit more chill in the middle of the match, and I started chasing this Fung at cow tree. I'm chasing Fung, I go for a tail attack at cow tree, hit some invisible collision. Oh well, it's frustrating, probably should have been fixed by now, but you know, that's the nature of Dead by Daylight. So I keep chasing. I get the hit, and then as she rotates back around to go down under the pallet at cow tree, she plot twists. And this puts me in a pretty interesting situation, because I'm thinking she's memeing. I'm thinking she's joking. I'm like, haha, very funny, you plot twisted. But then I realize, despite the fact that I chased and hooked a whole other person, it's only been about 40 seconds since I've last seen her, which means DS is still active. So what she's doing right now is she's forcing me to either eat the DS or have her plot twist, stand up, and throw the pallet in my face. It's a lose-lose situation. So naturally, I take the DS. I go in and take the aggressive DS stun, because even if she plot twisted all the way up and I just backed up and hit her over the pallet with the tail attack, she's still, you know, either way, the result is that she is injured. So I just kind of take the quicker option. And that chase, once again, lasts a little bit longer, even though it shouldn't have, because she essentially got a free extra health state because of a stun that's supposed to protect you against tunneling, even though I wasn't tunneling. And as a result, the gens go all the way down to 1 gen, and I almost lose the match. Thankfully, they got a little grouped up near the end there, and I was able to capitalize on it. But it was only through them making a mistake of grouping up that I was able to pull that match out. And it was solely because I had a chase that should have ended quickly, but didn't, because they forced a perk combo that I had no answer to and would inherently extend the chase despite having no input on my end. I have to either eat the stun or eat the plot twist. If I slug her and leave her, she just gets up for free, which is even worse. So despite the fact that I won, I just kind of felt like, that game was really close, but it really shouldn't have been. We had somebody death at like 4 gens, but I almost lost the game somehow because Feng had a normal length chase and then forced a perk combo and then had a second half chase out of nowhere for free. And because they had good perks, they had good items, the gens went quick, I almost lost. I just don't like. You could say, "Oh, well, you got the 4K, so why are you complaining?" But like, I am complaining because the game should not have been that close. I know a singular use of a perk combo should not result in that. It doesn't feel good. And then the fact that I had to like really lock in and really stress myself to pull that win off just because Feng pressed 2 buttons. She pressed 1 button to plot twist. She pressed another button to hit the DS because she hit 2 buttons. He hit 2 buttons, a singular. This is even like the team coordinating. This is 1 survivor and 1 chase hitting 2 buttons. The game became close when it wasn't. That's wild to me. Now, to bring things back around to my thesis, this doesn't quite fall into the whole poor sports player base kind of deal, but it flies pretty dangerously close, so I'm putting it under that umbrella. Because many players just kind of these days feel more comfortable forcing strong perk combinations than using skillful plays in the game to get ahead. This leads to the now infamous playing against perks, not people argument that a lot of people make, because there's a lot of truth to it. Like I said, it's not nearly as bad as people constantly quitting, but behavior constantly providing strong perks with easy activation has cultivated a community that would rather cheese the game than learn to understand it and love it. And as a result, all of us who are on the receiving end of that, it's hurt our match quality overall. And this isn't just like survivors that do this. Killers historically have consistently loved to play only like the top 5 killers. Now that's more out of necessity these days, but usually you would see like, I'm sure some of you are on these servers. There are certain servers where you would see Blight like all day before his nerf because he didn't really have that low of a skill floor. He had a high skill ceiling, but he didn't have that low of a skill floor, and he was arguably the best character in the game. And they would hard tunnel you out of the game right away with using quad slowdown. It's something that this community has really gotten really cozy with, this idea of taking shortcuts to win their games, the path of least resistance to win their games, and not, okay, well, how can I understand the game inside and out, make well-informed plays based off of my skill? Not, let's just play a top 3 character, run the meta, call it a day. Why don't I run the meta of this patch, force a situation that the killer can do nothing about, and I'll win that way. The only time behavior recently relented on this was the fast track update, which I am still appreciative of, but it was probably, frankly, easier to do that because it was only a very recent change, so it's probably easy to figure out something else to do. There's plenty of examples of this that still exist in the game. I'm looking at you, Hyperfocus Stakeout. You've been in the game for years, and behavior refuses to touch you. So this leads me to a specific truth. The stance of behavior on stuff like this. The stance is, we're cool with that. Or else something like that would have been adjusted long ago. And what does that tell the players to feel? We should be cool with that. I should be able to win with as little pushback as possible. My perks should have more weight on the game than I do. My mistakes should be punished as little as possible. And anybody who tries to do that and punish me for my mistakes, they're bad or sweaty. Now, I want to give credit where credit is due to my friend and fellow content creator, Revium, who said something smart that I think makes a lot of sense. Hand-holding your players inherently makes them hostile to their opponents who don't also hand-hold them as well. Despite the fact this is a PvP game, if the message down from the top is, don't worry buddy, your mistakes don't matter and cheese is okay, then anyone who punishes said mistakes or doesn't like the cheesiness of the game is bad, and it makes the community inherently hostile towards those people. Hey, I've made this whole video talking about this exact thing. Look down in the comments. How many people are already doing that? Because I don't hide those comments. Like, unless they're saying slurs or something way over the top nasty, those comments stay there. There are people down there right now who missed the point entirely, who are saying this stuff right now. They're treating this video and you guys who feel the same way as an attack on them. I don't want my mistakes to matter. Heck you, stop whining. I want to be able to DC whenever I want. I can? Heck you, you're whining. Whether it was behavior's intentional stance or not, I don't know, I don't work there. But regardless, it's one that the player base is now following. You lead by example, and the example you set is not great. So where do we go from here? What comes next? What's the constructive takeaway from this? Well, behavior. Realistically, you need to take a strong stance against this. Dead by Daylight is slowly being ruined from the inside out by a player base of poor sports. Players that don't want to play the game unless everything goes exactly their way. And even when these people stay, they're often taking the quickest shortcut to victory, since the balance of the game from a perks and map perspective has gotten, frankly, so out of hand. I understand why as a business that you're cool with this. I'm not blind to that. I understand it. DCers still buy skins. They do that. Like, even though they spend more time in queue than playing the game a lot of time, people who disconnect buy skins. People who only want cheap and easy victories buy skins. But I have felt so burned by this game lately, and I go into stream after stream after stream of people where DBD was their main game, and they're either specifically only doing variety, or they've mixed variety into their schedules because they just can't stomach the game as much as they used to. I went into a friend of the channel stream, Lil Chapito, excellent Carlos and Nemesis main, and they were immediately like, "Hey, I know you make videos talking about the problems in the game. Does Killer feel like awful right now?" Like, immediately when I came in there. So like, it's I stumble upon it everywhere. It's like, people are feeling this all over the place. People are tired of this. So I really need you, behavior, to stick up for us. Throw us a bone. Show us that there's a light at the end of the tunnel here. I don't think you're too worried right now because the 10th anniversary is right around the corner, and that chapter reveal will probably coast you for a very, very long time, and probably very deep into the rest of the year. But I don't even think that will last, and people will realize that the bones of the game are still the same, and they don't feel so good right now. While a lot of touring players in the player base seem to be thriving and buying skins and doing all that, it's been a long time since I've seen so many people who play DBD as their main game quitting or taking breaks or playing the game far less. I just get this like really nervous feeling that like Dead by Daylight is turning this game of just transient players that only come for events or chapter drops and then leave, and that's all the game is. And the reason that makes me nervous is not because it specifically affects like my place in the community or even like a lot of your guys' positions, but like for behaviors, and that well will dry up eventually. You know that Markiplier meme where he's like, "Oh, I'm saying the back rooms, keys jingle jingle, back rooms." That's kind of what really pushes behaviors game of Dead by Daylight past these awful patches or these awful metas is jingle jingle. Look, Stranger Things chapter 2, jingle jingle. Like they grab your attention, they make you forget, and then you're like, okay, well, things are great for a little bit. I'll probably gonna shit on myself here. I'm probably gonna make a video or two where I'm like, heck yeah, 10th anniversary is sick, and I'm gonna forget for a little bit, and then I'll be like, wow, yeah, game's still kind of painful. But eventually you're gonna run out of keys to jingle, because like there's only so many IPs and licenses out there. Eventually you'll run through the ones that people are gonna go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're in here." Eventually you will run out. And then in terms of the new game modes, you will run out of ideas of new game modes to run, or maybe people will get tired of 2v8 for the 39th time. And when that starts happening, what realistically happens in that scenario is that the general player base is going to keep the game floating. When there's not any new flashy IPs, like, oh, we got this niche character from this really small TV show. Woohoo! You know, the general player base are going to be the ones that are going to keep the game afloat, continue to buy your skins, continue to support your game. They're the ones that are going to keep the lights on when the key jingling goes away. What if you drove them away a long time ago? So to finalize my thoughts here, I want a strong and consistent Dead by Daylight community who loves the depth of the game and shuns players who do not respect each other's time, whether that be through constantly DCing and being a bad sport, or just trying to cheese the game at the expense of other players. I think ultimately the way this game survives for a really long time is with a strong, consistent community who loves the depth of the game and shuns players who do not respect each other's time, whether that be through quitting or trying to cheese the game at other people's expense. It seems that a lot of love has been given to that group in specific, and the general player base has been kind of left out. And I think we're all really feeling it. So you need to take a stand against that and show us a sign that things will really improve. I would ask you what you think and do that YouTuber thing where I prompt you to give your response. But usually videos like these, you're probably already popping off down there where they're like, heck yeah, I've been feeling this way and I quit a long time ago. Or you're somebody who just read the title and you're like, God, whiny killer main, I hate this guy. Either way, you're probably already talking down there. So what I'm going to say instead is thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you for being here. I know it's been a while since I've done a commentary video. Honestly, I've just kind of been in a negative headspace, and I want the thoughts I have that come out into these videos to be as objective as possible. And I knew I was feeling negativity bias, so I wanted to kind of like write the script, leave it there, revisit, and then see if I still feel that way. And thankfully, you know, not much has changed, or not thankfully. I guess that's technically a bad thing, because I was hoping it was just negativity bias, but hey, the video exists as a result either way. Anyways, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're having a good time with whatever you do, and I will see you in the next video. If I don't see you there, I'll see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.